The planet is overrun. All colonists are evacuating Shear. The transport ship leaves in 5 days. The hunters must save as many lives as possible across those 5 days by eliminating the monster threat.
Evolve is a first-person shooter developed by Turtle Rock Studios where you play as either a hulking, destructive alien monster intent on destroying everything in its path, or one of 4 human characters known as hunters, tracking the monster's every move as you try to eliminate it. If Avatar, Left 4 Dead, and Titanfall had a love child, Evolve would be that love child. The game has been through months of extensive beta testing with gamers, and now it's finally been released for the PC, Xbox, and PlayStation 4. Has it been worth the wait, and have they managed to get an enjoyable, polished FPS game on the market? Well, I'm so glad you asked. Let's just find out, shall we? First things first, people are probably wondering how this game performs on the PC, and I'm happy to say that it does seem to be well optimized. It runs on the Crysis 3 engine, and the visual options are fairly extensive. After a bit of tweaking, I was able to get a smooth 60 frames per second with little to no frame rate drops, even during heavy gunfights. Now this is a game with a genuinely unique and enjoyable concept. The game lets you choose a preference for your playing style, whether it be one of the 4 hunter classes or one of the monsters. If you choose to play as a hunter, each map begins with you dropping out of a dropship into a large canyoned off area before you set off to track the monster down with your teammates. The monster gets something of a head start, able to put some distance between itself and the hunters before it gets inevitably detected. Now the catch here is that the game also lets a human play as a monster. Now playing as a hunter or monster is 2 very different styles of gameplay. Hunters function like your standard first-person shooter, kind of. Each of the 4 classes fills out some sort of role, so you've got your standard assault class that focuses on dealing out damage and also being able to take it. Expectedly, the assault class has a Russian accent because I guess all Russian people are tough as nails, right? At least according to the internet. There's also 2 support classes in the form of a medic and a class actually called support. The medic has a healing gun practically identical to the medic gun from Team Fortress 2, and the support has a gun that can create a shield around allies, which lasts for a few hits before it has to recharge. The medic also has a cool skill where she can hit the monster with an armor-piercing round, giving it a weak point for a short period of time, and she can also tranquilize the monster, impairing its movement speed as well. The most interesting class though is the Trapper, who has a pet that can sniff out and lead you to the monster's location, but the Trapper's biggest skill is that she's able to set up a force field in an enclosed area, trapping the monster in and essentially forcing it into combat until the shield wears off. During these moments, the combat is extremely chaotic and there's stuff going on practically everywhere. It becomes really difficult to get your bearings, and when you're playing as the monster in these moments, it's sometimes impossible to tell which class is which, making it tough to take out the hunters efficiently. The jetpacks are given to all of the hunter classes, which make traversing areas a lot easier, but they have a 20 or second so cooldown before they can be used again, during which time you're practically immobile. Mastering and maximizing your team's overall performance is going to come down to how each player manages their cooldowns.
Yeah, so close. Whew.
Now on the flip side, playing as the monster generally involves avoiding the hunters entirely whilst eating other animals in your area, which recharge your armor and allow you to evolve to the next stage. Each monster type has 3 stages of evolution, with them getting more powerful with each stage. You've also got 4 abilities as well, which can be leveled up each time you evolve. The first stage is extremely weak and you're really not that much of a threat at all, but the 3rd stage is questionably overpowered, and if a monster makes it to that stage, it's often game over. Now my issue with this game is that regardless of what mode I seem to be playing, I'm largely just doing the same thing over and over. In the hunt mode, which is the most played mode online at the moment, you'll just follow the same pattern every time. You drop into the environment, you run around for a bit, the monster scares some birds, 200 or so meters away, giving you an indication of its location. You run in that direction for another 2 minutes, before it scares some more birds another few hundred meters away. Maybe by now or shortly after this you run into the monster and you trap it inside the energy field, hopefully. You all shoot at it for a bit before it runs away, possibly evolving somewhere in between all of this, and then the cycle just repeats. Then at the end of each match you earn experience points for your account as well as the player class you were playing as, upgrading your weapons incrementally or unlocking a new player class at certain junctures. If you're the monster, you just avoid the hunters and eat all the wildlife, hopefully reaching stage 3 before you're detected. Now this is not hyperbole, this is literally how every single match I've played has pretty much transpired. Now to fall into this kind of routine so early in the game is not a good sign. During the tutorials, the cinematics hint at how tense and suspenseful this game could have been. You know, they say you can follow animal corpses or destroyed trees, for instance, or you could all possibly split up to find the monster separately. But all everyone really ends up doing is following the trapper's pet, as it leads you right to the monster's location, whilst the person controlling the monster stomps around like King Kong, killing everything they want to, making enough noise that people back on Earth could probably hear the damn thing coming. Now, one thing that is really the game's saving grace is that the community is full of some really cool people. I played my fair share of matches and everyone always seemed to know what the hell they were doing, which is a good thing. And it's pretty rare to have that kind of community in a game like this. I think the reason the community is so decent is because the game is so expensive that most kids haven't gotten their hands on it yet. I mean, even after you own the game, they have the gall to put a store page on the main menu that is just full of pages and pages of DLC. You know, $5 for a skin, for instance, for a single character. Wow. I think they spent all the development time thinking about what they could charge people for, because they sure didn't focus on balancing the gameplay out. Yes, this game is often horribly unbalanced. Some of the monster types are just ridiculously overpowered. Your team is just ripped to pieces like it's nothing, and I mean the Kraken is probably one of the worst because it's a flying enemy and much harder to be hit by certain weapon types. Also, a lot of the monster's abilities have these really huge areas of effect, meaning you'll quite often get injured and thrown back when you thought you might have been safe. The so-called support classes are also very underwhelming. The amount you can heal someone with the medic gun is far too slow, and using it inhibits your movement speed so you can't even heal and run. The shield the support uses is effective, but when drained, the cooldown is just far too long, and again during combat, by the time the thing is recharged, the tide of a fight has often turned. And there's also a similar issue that used to happen in Left 4 Dead, where you get trapped in a corner and you literally cannot move while the monster just beats you to death. This is the same thing that happened with the tanks in Left 4 Dead. Is this a bad game though? No, it really isn't at all, but it doesn't feel worth the price they're charging. And to add extra insult to injury is just the sheer amount of day one DLC, which I think has to win some sort of award for the amount of crap they're trying to sell. Let's put it into perspective. To buy all the current DLC is going to set you back $100 US. Now that's more than I paid for the actual game. There is a good game in here somewhere, I'm just not sure whether or not it's worth the price of admission. This seems like one of those games that would be much better with a lot more content and a cheaper price tag. As it is right now though, unless you've got a group of friends to play with, there's really not all that much worth seeing.